Hey everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to the PHLY Flyers Pregame Show presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey to get Coors Light delivered or to find a store near you. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today is the star of the Anthony Gargano Show. It is JP Zapata. What's going on, JP?
What's up, Bill? How are you, man?
Just getting ready for a nice... I was talking... We're going to throw to it in like a minute because I went way over the time I wanted to. It's supposed to be like 10, 12 minutes. We did like 17 with CHGO's Greg Boyson, little preview for today.
It's good,
but he's like... I was like, yeah, it's beautiful, though. Saturday, 1 o'clock game. It's like, Saturday at 7 should be illegal.
Yeah,
He just goes... All games should be in the afternoon, no matter the day of the week. And honestly... Yeah, now that I do this as a job, 100%.
I would much prefer that either.
And when you're in Chicago, you probably get used to it with the Cubs. Yeah, you can play afternoon games any day. People will come. Yeah, it is. It's so we'll have that today, and just want to get to the lineups quick. I think we have lines at least on Daily Faceoff, but a few changes to the lineup today. First of all, the thing we have been waiting for has happened. That's right. Cam York, back in the lineup today, returning from injury finally. Or no, Morgan Frost back in the lineup from his scratching. Cam York activated off IR. He is in the lineup today. Igor Zamula will be sitting, which means Helge Grans and Eric Johnson remain in the lineup. Interesting choice there. Kolosov will be between the pipes. This is kind of what I wanted to see. A little more back and forth. And I thought Fedotov was fine against Carolina. He's not the reason they lost. Carolina took over that game in the third period, just kind of poured it on a little bit. I guess one of the goals, Charlie pointed, I think, to the second goal, the Sebastian Aho one, a little weak. But, it's his, fifth career start, and he's getting bombarded by one of the best teams in the league. He's going to give up a couple goals. That's what happens. But we're getting Alexei Kolosov in there against Chicago today. And unfortunately, pour one out for Tony Dick. Anthony Richard returned to the AHL. Hopefully he gets back sooner than later. But they just have some roster gymnastics right now with guys returning from IR. I think I am fairly certain Grans is still up here on an emergency basis with Emil Andre out, but not on IR. I think that's how he gets to stay up for now at least. Yeah, I keep looking at the roster and going, there's 24 guys here. And I'm pretty sure Grans is still up on just an emergency basis, so I don't know. But Anthony Richard gets returned, and it appears as if the lines are going to be Coots centering Tippett and Konechny, Cates centering Forster and Michkov. That's a line I'm kind of interested in. Yeah. Frost centering Farabee and Brink. I'm really looking forward to that line getting pinned down in its own zone, and then the coach going, oh, well, I guess I got to sit Morgan Frost again. But we talk a bit about Morgan Frost with CHGO because he's come up in some rumors lately. And Ryan Paling centering Lawton and Hathaway. So the lineup kind of returning to somewhat normal here. I still don't love Cates with Michkov, but Cates has been a little bit better lately. I just you have Frost back. We need a center to help Michkov create offense. Swap these two and help Farabee and Brink a little with defense by putting them with Noah Cates. We're not going to get everything we want, at least not until the second shift when Tortorella goes, screw it, and throws the lines in a blender. But we're getting a little bit of a return to normalcy after all the injuries and scratching Morgan Frost and all that. Here we are, pretty standard lineup for this team.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about when they healthy scratched Michkov back-to-back games. We talked about the accountability on the defensive end. You think maybe that's probably why he matches him up with a guy like Cates on that line?
Yeah, I do think just a little bit more of the responsibility. I think he sees that if you're going to play one of Cates or Paling higher in the lineup, he kind of likes Cates in that role more.
Right.
I like Paling in that role a little bit more. I think there's more offensive upside. It's inconsistent, but I don't know. He wants Cates up there, I guess, to see if he can maybe start to score a little. Maybe it's just as much about trying to get Cates going a little bit too, as much as it is to help Mish. But the lines are never going to be perfect because this team is put together weird until they start making trades and actually deciding who's going to be here and who isn't, and making some tough decisions. The lineups are going to be weird. That's just the way it's going to be. That's what we have now. But again, like I said, the CHGO conversation with Greg Boyson from our sister station out there in Chicago went a little long. So I am going to throw to it now. Enjoy that, and we'll be back on the Coors Light pregame show for some bets and stuff. We have a special guest joining us today, all the way from CHGO, our sister station out in Chicago. It is Greg Boyson. How you doing today, Greg?
Oh, we're doing good. Hockey remains the most random and silliest of all the sports.
Just a 32 save win for Peter Mrazek over the defending champion Florida Panthers. Why not,
Sure. I mean, Tuesday night you had a 2-1 third period lead to the lowly Anaheim Ducks and you lost. And then Thursday, 2-1 third period lead to the defending champs and you win. Hockey remains the dumbest of all the sports.
It's a lot of fun. I did a crossover. The Flyers last Monday played Colorado, so we talked to our friends out in DNVR for that one. And it's like, yeah, listen, cup contenders over here having much different conversations than we are. It's nice to be on the same page as my guest this week from CHGO. So, Greg, I got to get into it. The most exciting thing for us this week is in 32 Thoughts, I guess it was yesterday, Elliot Friedman muses that Chicago Blackhawks might be a landing spot for the embattled young forward Morgan Frost here in Philly. I heard you guys have a little conversation about Frost and some potential trades for him. What's your interest level in Frost? He's a probably 45 point center. He's looking to find some consistency at 25, but he's a good player. He can put up offense. What are you guys thinking when you see you're tied to possibly Morgan Frost?
Yes, let's get it done tonight so he can just switch locker rooms tomorrow morning and play for the Blackhawks. I'm good. Like, we actually did a segment about 2 weeks ago of like, if there's one realistic trade you can make this season to help the Hawks, what would it be? And I picked Morgan Frost because I saw, know that he's, not the most favorite guy there right now, and still young. The Hawks need help down the middle. They have one real center on their team in Jason Dickinson, and as we saw last night against the Panthers, you need him to do the shutdown work, not the offensive heavy lifting. So they need centers. Frost is still young, still has a lot of career ahead of him. He fits what the Blackhawks are doing here, and he fills a need, and he's a guy that is not a rental. You get him, you can re-sign him, and he can be your second or third line center for the next, 4 or 5 seasons or whatever. He fills a need. It makes too much sense for the Hawks not to at least be making a phone call saying, hey, what's it going to take to get this done?
And that's been the frustrating part about Frost and Philly is we are also desperate for centers. When I say we have no centers, Charlie yells at me. He's like, well, they have them. They just aren't fit for okay, so they're no good, but they have cool. Morgan
Sounds
Frost,
familiar.
He's the only center who really produces any offense. Like, Sean Couturier is still good, but right now he's a 3C playing the 1C role. Kind of like what you were saying. Yeah, man, his defense is good. He drives play, all that. He's just an offensive zero, and that doesn't really help playing with Travis Konechny or Matvei Michkov or anything. You need someone who could kind of help on offense. Morgan Frost is supposed to be that. There's just this disconnect between he and the coach, and as soon as things start to go wrong, John Tortorella just kind of goes, all right, time to sit Frost again. And this year may be warranted, just not playing all that well, but it is hard to find consistency when if I screw up, I ain't playing. And that's kind of what it's been with Frost. And more than I want to get rid of him, I'm just ready for this to be over. Like, this isn't working. Let's try something else. And when I hear you guys throw around, 2 second-round picks, I go, Chicago, not that good. Would take their second-round picks. That's what we got for Kimmo Timonen. I will gladly take that in return for Morgan Frost. So I think we're on the same page there. He's a good player, can definitely help with offense down the middle. Let's get it done.
All right, done. All right, I'll give you those 2 second-round picks, and you send Frost to the visitors' locker room tomorrow, and then we'll call our 2 GMs and tell them it's been worked out.
It's already over. You just got to sign the paperwork. When you hear the Flyers are shopping potentially a young, inconsistent forward, do your ears perk up at the possibility of the next Patrick Sharp? Like, that's what I'd be thinking if I was you.
Well, there was definitely not the big of a sample size for Patrick Sharp as there was for Morgan Frost. But yes, anytime there's a trade with the Flyers, it's like, ooh, did we just fleece them again? That'd be fun.
It would be. I can imagine that being a great time. So speaking of what those draft picks might be and where Chicago is in the standings, right now, tied for last place by points and points percentage with Nashville. Everyone saw that coming. Last year, Hawks drafted first overall. They get Bedard. This year, they were at number 2. They've made 8 first-round picks in the last 3 years. How would you say the rebuild's going, Greg? Like, what's the mood around the team and the direction things are moving in?
That's a difficult question because if I base it just on our YouTube chat, it's a disaster and everybody needs to be fired. But when you pull back, big picture wise, things are going well. I mean, this team this season is supposed to be better than it is, and it's flawed. But this was not supposed to be a playoff team. But when you pull back and you look at, as you mentioned, all those draft picks made the last couple of years, this is still 3-4 years down the road before we really can say if this has worked or not. You look at what Frank Nazar, the first-round pick, one of the 3 first-round picks the year before Bedard, is doing in the AHL with 15 points in 12 games. And some of us, myself included, are saying, why are we not playing him in Chicago? He's providing offense. The Blackhawks can't score to save their lives. This kid's scoring on a nightly basis. What are we doing here? But they're preaching patience, and the Ice Hogs have a ton of guys that are going to be contributors when this team is good again. Artem Levshunov, the 2nd overall pick this year, has shown his flashes, why was picked so high, and he's also struggled. But he's a 19-year-old defenseman coming off an injury, playing pro hockey for the first time. He's going to struggle probably this year, next year, and a year after that. Like Duncan Keith played 2 full seasons in the AHL before coming to the NHL, and his first 2 seasons in the NHL weren't very good, and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So I think a lot of people, not a lot of people, but some people, are used to the instant gratification in our society today, and they want it. We got Bedard, we're supposed to be good. That's not how it works in real life. So big picture wise, I think things are going good. They've got a lot of prospects. Nick Lardis is just destroying the OHL now. He had 1 goal shy of his 3rd straight hat trick last night. So there's offense and speed coming. You just got to be patient for it. And hopefully when it gets here, things turn around. They have a new core. But as we all know, these rebuilds, they look great on paper, but it takes, time to find out if it's good or not.
Everybody is down to rebuild. And then you live through the day-to-day of, this is I wanted the young players and I wanted them to be stars right away.
Right.
Not necessarily how it happens. Like, Connor Bedard, he rules. And even he has had his struggles at times. We're seeing the same thing now with Matvei Michkov. People are overall like, this is good. But why aren't they better? It's like, well, that's why they're rebuilding, because they're not very good. Like, that's the 2 things have to go hand in hand. But what's the best part? Because you get to watch Bedard on a nightly basis. He wins the Calder Trophy last year. What's been the best part of having a player like Bedard?
Well, you definitely see his work ethic, being at practice every day and being in the room. He's always the first one on the ice. He's always the last one off the ice. I'm surprised he hasn't missed a team flight yet this year because he's still shooting pucks. We get worried that he's going to be on IR because he gets hit by the Zamboni because he won't leave the ice. So you see, like, he reminds me of like, the dynasty era. He reminds me of a Jonathan Taves, that where like he's the hardest worker on the ice, and that's good because when your best player is putting in the work, then that forces everybody else to do it. When your best player is not cutting corners or taking shifts off, then your guy in your fourth line is saying, well, if Connor Bedard is doing it, I have to do it. So that's good. I mean, obviously the talent is there. He's been in a struggle a bit this year, at least scoring goal wise. Last night against the Panthers, he didn't even have a shot attempt, but again, he was playing with Jason Dickinson, and he was all of a sudden defensive specialist Connor Bedard, shutting down the Barkov-Reinhart line for a night. Not what he's here for, but it worked for one game. But every once in a while, you see a special play where you're like, oh, wow, that's it. I don't know if you saw the highlight on his second assist against the Ducks on Tuesday where he just no-looked pass right to the center. Like, you see those moments, and you go, okay, take a breath. This is a 19-year-old kid still learning how to play in the NHL, still figuring out that everything he did in the juniors doesn't work here at this level. But it's there, and it's going to come out more consistently as time goes by.
That's what surprised me. I knew this when it happened, but it just kind of slipped my mind. Like, Michkov, still 19 for a couple of weeks. He turns 20 in the beginning of December or something. I looked at Bedard. He doesn't turn 20 until July. Like,
Yeah.
he is an actual like college freshman is what he is right now. And it's great to hear that, like, that work ethic, because that's what you need. You need the best players setting the tone. Otherwise it doesn't exist. That's culture building right there. And I'm looking forward to getting to watch him up close on Saturday. Not sure if we're going to get to see this former Flyer or not on Saturday. But I have to ask about Peter Mrazek. I just mentioned, he had the 32 save, 1 goal against win over, the defending champs. Not a bad night for him. And he's been pretty decent for you guys since arriving last season. But my question is he still having a problem turning left? Because we dubbed him Zoolander during his time in Philly, because for some reason he was only able to turn one way, and he'd look very silly sometimes, like doing almost a 360 to get around in his net. Is that still something he's struggling with, Greg?
No, I don't think so, because I have not noticed that. I think I would have picked up on that a while
You'd
ago,
say it.
but no, Mrazek's been great. He's another one of these guys in the room that always loose, and we got to talk to him last night after that big win, and he has been the key for him, and I'm sure you guys know this, is staying on the ice. He's had a lot of issues. His first season here, he was dealing with groin issues, which is never good for a goalie. Last year, he was healthy and he had one of his best years. This year, he's healthy again. Was supposed to kind of be a 1A, 1B tandem with Laurent Brossoit, but hasn't come back from off-season surgery. But thankfully, Arvid Soderblom, who was awful last year, has been amazing, a 933 save percentage right now. So Mrazek's been really good, and the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs gave the Blackhawks a first-round pick to take him, and he's been our number one goalie now for 3 years in a row, and we'll be back next year. That's right up there with the Patrick Sharp kind of trades, where you're like, thank you, Toronto. Please unload any more unwanted cap dumps that you need.
Hey, man, Matt Ellison really worked out for us. No.
Hey, but he's Sharpie's back. He's helping the team win finally.
He's helping coach our power play now, which is no longer at 12%. So that's kind of nice.
See?
Outside of Bedard, is there any player just like you think Flyers fans should take notice of on Saturday? Like, maybe, okay, yeah, everyone's going to be watching for Bedard. He's the star. But is there anyone else who's kind of been under the radar for Chicago this year?
That's our pal Alex Vlasic on the back end. This kid has been, and now you'll notice him because he's 6'6", and skates really well on the back end. But this is a kid that was a mid-round pick, 3 years at college, a full season in the AHL. Last year came up and spent much of the season with Seth Jones and really solidified himself as a defensive defenseman. This year we're starting to see the offense. With Jones out, he's now the quarterback on the top power play unit. He's got 8 assists on the season. He had 14 all of last year, so he's definitely picking up. But he is turning out to be he's already their best defensive defenseman, only in his second full season, and he's now showing that offensive game. And there's a lot of buzz around him that he is in consideration to make Team USA for the Four Nations face-off. So he's not a guy that's going to be under the radar much longer.
That's good to hear. Just one last thing. I'm having a conversation the other day about Penguins fans and how there's not a ton of appetite to see some of their core players play elsewhere. They kind of just want to see them play out the string, however long it is. Crosby especially, but Malkin and Letang as well. And we kind of have a thing here with some fans want to see Claude Giroux come back someday, some don't. Obviously, nobody in Philly, because we haven't won since 75, compares to like a Patrick Kane. But from your perspective, what's it like seeing him play elsewhere? And is there like an appetite? Hey, if we're good in a year, maybe he comes back, or that ship has sailed. How is that with a franchise legend still out there?
Well, if you were chatting on our show, you would owe $1 to our fine jar for suggesting to bring back Patrick Kane. We fine people just because we're tired of hearing it. For the fine jar was originally established for anybody who said Stan Bowman's name, because people were still complaining about Stan Bowman, and it was like, he's gone, he can't hurt you anymore, it's time to move on. But now that we've now changed that to what if we sign Kaner, you owe us $1.
I'll Venmo you.
Yeah, I mean, we get it all the time, especially when they struggle to score. Especially last season when he came back to the Red Wings and had that great run. He hasn't been too good this year, but nobody on Detroit has, and that breaks my heart. It is weird seeing him in a different uniform for sure. First the Rangers, and now then you go to the Red Wings. Like, come on, man, that's just that's like Claude Giroux finishing up with the Penguins, man. It would just stab you in the heart. But I understand management's decision there. They wanted to clear the deck. They wanted, they didn't want Connor Bedard and these young players walking into a room and seeing Patrick Kane and saying, this is Patrick Kane's team, I'm going to defer to him, it's still his show. You need it. If you're clearly rebuilding, if you're doing it the right way, you have to tear it down to the studs. You can't have one bastion to the glory days still hanging around. Tear it down. I agreed with the decision at the time, and I think let him do his thing. Give him that 1-day contract at the end of his career. Let him come back and then give him all his flowers that he richly deserves.
Yeah, that's kind of the feeling with Giroux. Like, he was the captain for 10 years. Other leaders have emerged. We like that. That's good. When I'll see Giroux again? When 28 goes up into the rafters, and I don't need to see it until then. Patty Kane putting together a pretty nice collection of original 6 jerseys, though.
He's doing the tour. He's doing the tour.
Got a pretty cool collection of jerseys there. All right, Greg, thank you for joining us today on PHLY Flyers Pregame. Very much appreciate it, and enjoy the game.
All right, will do. Thanks.
And we're back with the PHLY Flyers Coors Light pregame. Hope you enjoyed that somewhat lengthy conversation with CHGO's Greg Boyson. Just a little look into Chicago's mindset this season. They think they should maybe be a little further along. And I saw in the comments during this, like, Chicago, they've had like 8 first-round picks the last 3 years. They have, obviously, Connor Bedard. He's their future star. They picked 2 in this last draft.
Right. But
their lineup is oddly old, and it is. They have a ton of guys over 30. They kind of wanted to surround Bedard with some veterans. It's an odd team, and lo and behold, they're tied for last place in points and points percentage once again. So the Chicago fans, they're like, yeah, big picture. Okay, we'll get another really good draft pick. But shouldn't we be a little further along right now? And I guess maybe that's how they're feeling. But we have some lineup changes, even from the start of this show, for Philly. First of all, it will be Frost with Michkov. The lines, Jordan Hall tweeted them out. Charlie retweeted them just a few minutes ago. Coots centering Tippett and Konechny, as we thought. It will be Cates between Farabee and Brink. That makes sense. Put a little defense with that offense. And then Frost centering Michkov and Forster. The line we wanted to see from the start of the season is finally together, fam. We can rejoice. And then finally, Paling with Lawton and Hathaway. And on defense, a little bit of news as well. Not only is Cam York back and partnered with Travis Sanheim, Emil Andre is making his return. So he'll be with Risto, and Grans remains in for Eric Johnson. Jamie Drysdale still on IR. Grans will be with Sealer. And like I said, Kolosov in net.
I love it.
This is a rebuild-facing lineup here. It is very much the kind of lineup I think we all want to see.
Yeah, man. We talked about it before. Obviously, we want to see Michkov a little more offensive firepower, but it would be cool to see some defense too. But listen, we love it seeing him with Frost, and of course seeing Emil Andre, Cam York back in the lineup, dude. It's all about that blue line, man. So it should be a fun one tonight.
It should be. And with that, we're gonna get some bets in. That's right. This pregame pick segment is brought to you by Bet365. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. We only have one tonight. We are going with, it is going to be, yeah, there it is. Okay. Matvei Michkov. I was like, did I take the over? No, it will be Matvei Michkov anytime goal.
Okay.
A couple of reasons for a Mish goal, not just that he is back with Morgan Frost, and presumably Frost will be back on that first power play unit. Last game, JP, the top power play unit didn't seem to have a center on it. I'm pretty sure it was Farabee, Forster, Michkov, Konechny, and Sanheim. Maybe Zamula was out, but whatever it was, there was no center. And it was like, so they're just waiting for Frost to get back at this point.
Yeah.
So he'll be out there at 5-on-5, at least to start with Mish. And he'll be out there, you got to believe, on the power play as well. A couple other reasons. One, pretty big matchup here. 2023 draft, head-to-head for the first time. Number 1 pick, Connor Bedard. Number 7 pick, Matvei Michkov.
I know, man.
A redraft at some point will have Mish being number 2. And right now you look at their numbers, it's closer than that.
Yeah.
Just saying. But he scored, Matvei Michkov, he's got 6 goals on the season. Scored 2 against McDavid in that primetime game. He scored at Washington in front of Ovi in the 2 games against Washington, 3 points. Goal and assist against Kaprizov's Wild. Goal and assist against Celebrini and Will Smith, when Will Smith went 4th in 2023. Celebrini just went 1st. And he scored a goal against Claude Giroux-Sens.
Wow.
He seems to step up in these, little bit of something here matchups. I like that. He also, with this condensed schedule, we've seen him maybe get tired at times, maybe not have the energy in every single game. They've had multiple days in between games for the first time in a little bit. 5 of his 6 goals have come following more than 1 day between games. Just something I thought I'd throw out there.
Look at all those stats.
I like to look for patterns.
Yes.
Listen, you can go to Betalytics, check out Rachel Dury's models and everything. She's real smart and knows math and stuff. I like to look for patterns, and that's something I noticed. 5 of his 6 goals have come in games following a break of more than 1 day between games. And like I said, he's good in front of the audience, the condensed schedule, and he's got a little drought going on. 2 straight games without any points, 3 in a row without a goal. Seems like Michkov's day against Connor Bedard.
He likes to step up in these type of moments. And, dude, I was bringing this up with Cuz yesterday, man. I told him about today's game. Bedard versus Michkov got them all juiced up, and that should get everyone juiced up. And we're hoping this is that matchup. In the sense of, your Crosby versus Ovechkin, but 2 star-studded players going at it, head to head. So I'm really excited for this matchup.
It has a little bit more juice than maybe Patrick Kane versus James Van Riemsdyk. Just, that was a Stanley Cup final, though. All right, before we get out of here, I see we have one super chat. From Dylan Fowler, hoping for a Flyers win today on my birthday. Let's go Flyers. Happy birthday, Dylan. I believe it is Garnet Hathaway's birthday as well.
Okay.
So maybe we should have sprinkled something on a Hathaway anytime goal or something. Maybe a fight. I don't know. But happy birthday, Dylan. Thank you for joining us. And thank you all for watching the PHLY Flyers pregame show presented by Coors Light. Visit CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey to get Coors Light delivered or find a store near you. We'll be back following the game with postgame. Charlie's down at the Wells Fargo Center. We will hear from him then. Until then, I'm Bill Matz. That's JP Zapata. Let's go Flyers. Woo!
We all silly like the mayor.